Hello, everyone, and welcome to First Friday Lunch. If this is your first time here, my name is Tina Holland, and every first Friday of the month, I talk about what's going on with me personally, what I am reading, what I'm watching, and what I'm writing and working on. And we have a hot topic this month as well, so we'll get into it. If you didn't receive an invitation, it is the How to Love a Lord release party. And we'll talk a little bit about this because the book's actually been out for a few months. So let's move right along, shall we? All right. Personal, we opened up our lake cabin this time of year. We actually did it a week ago Tuesday. My dog trying to get in. Sorry, I thought I had a dog trying to get in. We did it about a week ago Tuesday to like open it up because we had some hot days. It was like 70 and almost like 90 out at the lakes. And so, I do have a dog trying to get in. Hold on. Okay, you can come in, but you can't leave. So, all right. So, anyways, we opened that up and that's been pretty good. We're cleaning out the garage. I haven't posted the pictures to Instagram. If you follow me on Instagram, sometimes I'll post stuff over there, and I think I'll go ahead and do that and maybe post those maybe this week or something. But usually, a lot of people are going down to the lake and they're putting in their docks and stuff because Mother's Day is in Minnesota is fishing opener. So there's a lot of moms that probably feel like they get disregarded if you're married to a man or have children that are fishing people. So anyway, but yeah, so most of the cabins are starting to open up, and we opened ours up last week, and we're trying to get some projects done and everything before we are out there more regularly in the summer season. So what am I reading? I just binged audiobooks, not all of them. I'm on I binge read the Cocky Kingman series by Amy Award, and I'm right now currently listening to the Jackass in Class. And so, if you haven't heard of her series, she's got the Cock Down the Block. What are some other the Wiener Down the Way, Across the Way? I don't remember, but I like binge these in probably like a week. Thank you, library. So I've been listening to them on audio. Otherwise, if you have Kindle Unlimited, you could probably try out for free because I think they're Kindle Unlimited stories. So I've been listening to the audio versions of them, and I think I've got all except the Honkers Down the Hall. I don't remember. I don't remember all the titles. Like that's how I just have like literally binged them that fast. So like one of the short stories or one of the novellas offset from the main series, and then yeah, I've only worked my way up to the Jackass in Class, which is I think this fifth book. So that's how far I am into the series. But yes, thank you to my public library for having those available. That was nice, so I could go ahead and listen to those. What I'm watching, I am finishing up kind of like the regular shows that are on regular TV right now, because I don't have cable, or I don't have cable. I don't have like any of the streaming services like Disney or HBO or Paramount or any of those. So whatever's on ABC, NBC, and CBS and Fox is it Fox TV? Yeah, whatever's on those, that's what I'm watching. Although I don't think I'm watching any shows on Fox this year. So let's see. So I'm kind of finishing those up. And then because we opened up the cabin and we don't have TV down there, like we don't even get like regular antenna TV. I've been like, let's see, I've been watching reruns of The Golden Girls, X-Files, and Star Trek Voyager. That's kind of an eclectic mix, isn't it? So I've been watching that stuff. And Golden Girls just came up on MeTV like I want to say it might have been like April 1st or something. And I'm not sure when they picked it up, but it's on at like 9 o'clock Monday through Friday. And then it's on for like a 2 hour block on Sunday or whatever. So I've been kind of catching up on that, and I forgot how funny it was. I'll just be like laughing my butt off in the evening. So but so that's kind of what I've been reading and watching. So you guys are probably here for the hot topic. So let's go ahead and get into that. So we're going to be talking about how to love a Lord. And I'm going to actually share my screen here. So let's see if I can find the thing to do that. I normally have a like mouse or whatever because I like using a mouse more than this little pad thing. And let's see, I want to share this and share, and then we're going to go over to here, and then we're going to go slideshow. All right. Okay, so welcome to the How to Love a Lord release party. And I'm just going to kind of go through the what I did with this book and how that all worked out, and the stuff that, if you've been to any of my other release parties, I'll talk about how long it took to write it and all that good stuff. So we'll just jump right into it. The details. So I had a title change from My Fair Lord from when I first started writing the book in February 8th of 2022 to How to Love a Lord. And this was based on, I started writing this in 2022, but I released the first book. Like I had finished writing the first book, and I think I started, I want to say maybe 2020, maybe the first book. I'd have to go back and look and see. But I started writing the first book, and then I literally tried to get it traditionally published. So that's one of the reasons this one's kind of so far behind, because I spent 2 years trying to get it traditionally published before I went ahead and decided, oh, I'm just gonna go ahead and release this on my own. The other thing is, a lot of the small publishers that I would have worked with, if you follow my channel, you know that How to Marry a Major got picked up, and that wasn't even the title of it. The title came later. I think it was The Courtesan, The Governess Spy, or so. I don't remember even what that one had, like, I don't know, 7 title changes, and it just didn't feel quite right. And so then I kind of came up with this series of bold and adventurous debutantes, and that's kind of nicknamed the Bad Guide series. So so when I changed the title of the first one, I kind of had an epiphany of like how to have these how-to books for debutantes or whatever, bold and adventurous. So the first one's How to Marry a Major, the second one's How to Love a Lord, and the third one, which I'm working on right now, is How to Humble a Highlander. So I really like that alliteration. And it does look nice too, the way they've got the font and everything. So I started writing this one on February 8th, 2022, and I sent it to the editor on May 1st of last year, because I had just released in February 14th of 2024, I released How to Marry a Major. And so it kind of took me a year to get this one wrapped up, because that's the other thing, is there's some overlapping time stuff at the beginning of this novel that kind of overlaps with How to Marry a Major. So I had to make sure that those two books were sort of consistent with each other. Sent to the editor on May 1st. And then I had a soft release, because I actually got it back, but I had a soft release on February 14th, 2026 with just the ebook. And most of that was because of two things. I thought about delaying it, but I didn't want to get thrown in Amazon jail. And if you watched my video last month, nothing changed plot-wise in the book. So the plot is the same. So it was literally like nitpicky things. Like, I think when I was going through the proof, I found quotation marks missing, periods missing at the end of a sentence, and a couple other things. So there were some things that I just was like, okay. And I think part of that is because when I'm drafting, I still put 2 spaces after the period. So I always have to go back through and fix that at the end, just to make sure I've got them all. But then sometimes, because of that, sometimes when I'm editing, periods get deleted, or I'm famous for like writing a paragraph, and because I'm going to start like the next thing, not even having quotes or what, like I'm like writing so fast, I skipped a period altogether, most commonly at the end of a paragraph. I don't know why that is, but so I'll go through and I'll try and catch, but those are sometimes hard to catch because it's not something you can do a search and edit for necessarily, because it's like, well, there's not periods after a lot of stuff. So like middle of a sentence wouldn't have a period. So it's like, so those are a little harder to catch, but I did catch like 2 of those. I catch some changes, like changing a 2 to we're going to something, like I had like a word I didn't like. So I did a couple word changes. Some echoes I think I fixed. And then there were 2 formatting issues when I put How to Humble a Highlander. I put the first chapter at the end, and there was a couple, like it stopped mid-sentence and didn't like go over, so I had to fix that. So those were a couple things, but I had, like I said, I had a soft release on February 14th, and then I just kind of kept quiet about it. So, about the book. So the book is Historical Regency. It's the second book in the Bad Guide series, and we talked about that. And the tropes in the book are mistaken twin, enemies to lovers. That's the highest ranking. I don't feel like there's some animosity with them at the beginning of the book, and there is in How to Marry a Major because these characters come from that book as well. And so there is kind of an enemies to lovers thing going on, and that's my highest ranking. I think yesterday when I looked, I was at like 4,362 in ebooks or whatever, and it was enemies to lovers was the highest ranking trope or whatever. And then compromised marriage. I don't like forced marriage, but because I feel like then there's no I don't like that term just because I feel like it's maybe it doesn't give the heroine any agency, so I'm like, okay, but compromised marriage, like we have to get married because you've been compromised, and the way that particular time period is set up, it makes more sense. So I kind of like the term compromised marriage versus forced marriage. So let's see here. Can I get that enter? Okay. So the cover, I'm going to talk a little bit about the cover. I did talk about this back in, was it February? It might have been February or earlier when I got the cover back. So it's a Historical Regency, bold colors, not muted, same font as the first book, and not cartoony. I do have romantic comedy elements, but they're not super strong. And I don't know that those covers, those particular cartoony covers that are in the Regency period, are going to last. Like, think like Martha Waters has a series like that. Some of the Elijah, what's her name? Erica Ridley. Some of her books also have those kind of cartoony covers, and then they also have kind of the classic, not bodice ripper because those are kind of have gone out, but that kind of style of painting, which is what I wanted. So that was it. And then I had sent this over to. I mocked this up on Canva. I'm not. I don't know if it's. I actually suspect it might be from somebody's wedding, and then they like AI mocked it up. That's what I suspect. So I think the pose is real. But then there's things like her hand looks kind of freakishly long. And, and so I was like, well, maybe not, But anyway, so I said, this is kind of what I'm looking for, like something with a background. How to Love a Lord is the title. And this is not the font of even the original one, but the font for my name and the font for the how to, and then the Love a Lord, that is very similar to what my cover artist Melody had done on the first book. So she had finished that up and then sent me back this one here, was the first mock-up. And so I kind of sent this. It looks pretty like the style of what I want is very similar. So I like kind of them in between the flowers or whatever, because that's similar to How to Marry a Major. And then they do a lot of horseback riding, and so there's a horse in the background, but then like the font is kind of what I was looking for. So, and I think that works pretty well. Actually, the hero and the heroine kind of they looks very similar. So she may have also thought, yeah, I want these people, but those also were kind of one of the couples. I think this is a wedding photo actually. And then there's been some mock-up, so that could actually be like her real hand, but I don't think so. It looks really weird to me. And then, so then I said, gave it to my friends, and they're all like, what's up with the horse? And so I was like, true, I didn't really need the horse. And so I was like, can we get rid of some of these pinky flowers? I don't like that. And maybe just have trees, and then make that house, the dilapidated house that he lives in, kind of more pronounced. And then also too, you can see like the bad guy pops out a little bit better. And it just looks a little darker. And I didn't need it dark, but I didn't want it quite so bright as we had it over on the left or right, depending on which way you guys are looking at it. So then this ended up, I think, being the final And if you see now, it's very close to like where the font lays from How to Marry a Major to How to Love a Lord. The bad guide's in the same spot, and the lighting and everything is actually, I think this lighting might be just a little bit brighter than the previous one. So, but those were the kind of mock-ups she sent me. And then I was like, can you do this with this and whatever? And so also, there's just a lot of similarities between the two covers, which is good because then if you were to buy the paperbacks, you're going to have them sitting on the shelf and they'll look nice together. So, all right. So the release, like I said, I had the ebook come out on February 14th on Amazon and then draft to digital. The paperback, March 23rd on Amazon. And then the paperback release, I kind of set it up pre-order wise on Ingram. So it'll go to all of the other platforms today. Was when it was supposed to kind of go out, and then bookstores and whatnot could place orders for it and that sort of thing. So promo activities, I did an interview with Nodakian After Hours interview with my friend Shelly last October, and it just got posted like this week or last week. And so I thought I will lead off with that because it works out pretty good. We were talking a little bit about the book and where I was, and I think it was in edits at the time. And so because last year I got the edits from my editor back at like the end of May, which did not work out because we basically work Memorial Day Memorial Day to Labor Day is kind of our work season. And I thought maybe I'd be able to get edits done and that they were going to be kind of quick turnaround because the first book, the turnaround on the first round of edits was pretty quick. And then, but this one, there was more like deep POV that it needed to be put in and some other stuff like what's she thinking when she says this and stuff. So this is probably a lot more character driven in some ways, but also you're like really getting inside the characters' heads, which is a little bit different from the first book, where there's a lot of plot stuff going on that kind of advances the story. But this one too, there's not that many outside plot elements that affect the characters other than they're compromised. She's been compromised, so they have to get married. And so that's the only thing though, really. They don't have any that once they're married, they're kind of they're all in, so there's no conflict even with each other. They're just trying to figure out how to help him, like help the hero out or whatever. So anyway, so I had this interview with Nodakian Studios that just got posted like maybe a week ago. And I put that up on my blog for Writer Wednesday. So if you want to watch that, I can link it below. Or you can go out to my website and it's like going to be the third one down on the blog. The books will be placed in the bookstore. I ordered some, and my friend Chris Stenson, who runs Morehead Friends Writing Group, he's going to be putting like basically delivering those to like Fargo and Grand Forks. And I have some, so it's going to be First Avenue North in Fargo, Words to Live By in Morehead, and then Silver Dawn and Witchwood Bookshop in Grand Forks. So those are kind of the bookstores that I'm sitting in. And actually, I think that's I think that's where all my Regencies are. I think those are the only places there. My steampunk / gas lamp is in a few other local bookstores because based on whatever their clientele is, right? I'm going to be the Morehead Friends Writing Group Spotlight author in the newsletter this month for Morehead Friends Writing Group. I'm doing a Silver Dagger book tour. I just scheduled that yesterday, and it's May 14th through the 28th. And so I'll be doing like a 2-week tour with her to kind of get the word out around the blogs and all that kind of stuff. And then I'm going to schedule, I'll do some ads on Coffee Time Romance and then submit it for a book review. So, and that usually helps too, to get that book review for me, because it kind of lets people know that they've been pretty generous. I think I got a 4-cup review last time, and which I thought, I mean, that's pretty good. Actually, I'm happy with the 3, because the 3 just says, yeah, it's well written, but it's just, maybe it just didn't appeal to that particular person. I don't start freaking out unless it's a 2 or a 1, because then that means a lot of times that means that the writing is not good. So usually a 3 is like, it's good, it's fine. It just, didn't like work for that particular reviewer. So I don't freak out that much about these threes because the other thing is when I've gotten 3-star reviews, a lot of times they're just fine. I can use them for promo and stuff too. And they're fine. So it's but there's never anything like really bad written about them. Like this is an awful book. Don't buy it because usually don't get a 3-star review with that. But it's usually just it didn't appeal to that particular reviewer. But they'll say it's not. They'll write down things they liked about it. So I think too some reviewers are not super they don't give a lot of 4 and 5-star reviews. So sometimes I think the 4s and the 5s are actually really, I mean, it's like if you look at it like ABC, like in a grading system, a 5 is an A, 4 is a B, and a 3 is a solid C. And there's nothing wrong with a solid C, in my opinion. So that's kind of what I'm doing for promo activities. And next month, I will talk about those promo activities, like how did they go? What did they do? So obviously, like the first 3 are not really, I didn't pay anything for any of that stuff. I did put money down for Silver Dagger book tour, and I will for Coffee Times Romance for the advertisements. So, and I'll let you guys know how that went. So, and I'll let you know anything else I do. The thing I liked about Silver Dagger book tour, this will be my 4th book tour with them. I think it's the 4th. Might be the 3rd. But I've done a couple with them. I did like with all my novels, I've done a tour with them. And one of the things I like is that it kind of takes the headache out of doing the socials because it hits like a bunch of different kinds of socials. It'll hit Instagram, Facebook, people's blogs, like a lot of reviewer blogs. And then there's also an option for them to review it if they would like. So, I think that's good. So I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to pop over here really quick and see if you guys have any questions, comments. Yep, nothing. So if you get, I think that's my last slide actually. Let me look. Yep, that's my last slide. So if you guys have any questions about releasing or anything that I've had to do for this book, go ahead and you can put it in the comments or whatever, and I can let you know. So I'll do that quick. Close it. There we go. Very good, very good. So yep. Just give everybody a few minutes. So, because I got to see, we got a couple people here, unless we just have no commenters, which is also fine. Then that's fine. If you're just lurking, it's okay. So, let me see here. I think that's everything I've got for you guys today. Pretty short, pretty quiet. So you should be able to today buy this, by How to Love the Lord Anywhere. Oh, you know what? I will just read while I'm waiting for questions to come in because I see a couple little dots here. I will read the. Actually, I wonder if I'll do it better on my phone. So I always make up a media kit. And so I will just read the blurb and the excerpt to you. So, all right. So we already talked. This is How to Love a Lord. It's part of the Bad Guide series that I'm writing. Regency romance is the genre, but also there's Enemies to Lovers is another one for tropes. The cover artist was Melody Simmons. And then my editor is Sandra Suku. So, and it should be available everywhere that you would purchase books at this point. So, because I actually set it up for pre-order when I set it up on Ingram. So it'll be available on all the sites. And it's been up on Amazon for a couple months. And I will say, as I made changes through that, I went out and I updated the main files at all those locations that it was already up. So if you were to buy it today, you're going to get the cleanest. The other thing I've noticed is some of these digital sites, will automatically upgrade to the next file. Even like, let's say you purchased it, but you hadn't read it yet, it'll upgrade the cover art. Like if I'd changed the cover art, because I've noticed that in my Nook, is that the cover art will be updated. And it's like, well, I haven't read that for a while, but it's got the new cover art on it. So I'm not sure how that works in the systems, but that's kind of cool. So the blurb for this is it's book 2 in the Bold and Adventurous Debutante's Guide. So that's what BAD stands for, Bold and Adventurous Debutante. After a night of mistaken identity and passion, Arabella Kent vows to keep her secret, especially from Viscount Pierce Ellis, the man who unknowingly claimed her heart. With her twin sister Amelia, eager for a London season, Arabella escapes to the Scottish countryside, determined to avoid scandal and matrimony. Pierce, Viscount Kernwith, has always believed he loved the poised and perfect Amelia Fitzwilliam. But when he learns it was Arabella he spent that fateful night with, everything changes. Realizing the truth, he's determined to make Arabella his bride. But Kernwith is on the brink of ruin, and as they work together to save the estate, buried secrets emerge. The revelation of the past forces Arabella to decide, can she trust the man who mistook her for someone else, or will pride keep them apart forever? So that's like the back blurb or whatever. And then this is just an excerpt. Arabella in another man's arms unsettled him more than Amelia's wedding. How could that be? He'd once believed his heart belonged to Amelia, but she'd married Devonhold, and instead of breaking him, it had brought anger and now relief. That was the truth, wasn't it? A quiet, undeniable sense of rightness had settled over him then, but now a storm raged at the idea of losing Arabella. It wasn't just an obligation that pulled him toward her. It was the realization that he may have loved her all along. A flash of light blue caught his eye, and she sailed through the doorway mercifully alone. She looked thin. Perhaps she wasn't well. As he traversed the room toward her, she lifted her gaze and met his. Her stare reminded him of a doe ready to flee. Would you care for the next dance? He asked once he reached her side. Arabella crossed her arms. I heard you abuse Charlotte's feet last night, so I think not. A turn in the garden, then? That wouldn't be proper. Was she trying to pretend nothing had passed between them? Damn it, he wouldn't be dismissed like some unwanted suitor. We must speak to one another, he fairly shouted over the music, drawing eyes to them. Her cheeks flushed and her mouth formed an O before she turned on her heel and left, her bottom a dancing curve of pale blue silk as she fled. Once she reached the edge of the ballroom, he discreetly followed her. Arabella darted down the hall, opened a door at the end, and entered a room. Pierce glanced over his shoulder to ensure no one followed them. Once at the door, he stopped with his hand on the handle. And that's the blurb or whatever, or the excerpt. So that is everything about How to Love a Lord. So like I said, it is available everywhere, and I'll be doing this like online virtual tour, and that'll probably hopefully kick off some sales, and we'll talk about sales numbers also in May. So if you want to join me for May, that or June. I'm sorry, June. We're already in. It's been April. Feels like it's been April for so long. So, join me on what is it? Friday, June 5th. Okay. So join me Friday, June 5th, the first Friday of the month at 11:30 Central Standard Time. So go ahead and pencil me in for lunch.